More cards have been announced for the madness of the Darkmoon Faire, including some really cool Hunter Deathrattle Mech Synergy, a Corruptible Mage Secret Generator, and a legendary for Demon Hunters that will make you hate them all over again.
Huh, this should be interesting.
We're going to get right into it, so if you'd like to know how our criteria differ from other reviewers, check out the description below or our previous review linked up there. There's a link to quick reviews in the description below for those of you without much time. For everyone else, let's get into the main reviews. Let's start off by looking at the new cards for Hunter. First up is a new Mech and Deathrattle synergy card, Darkmoon Tonk. It's a 7 mana 8/5 with a Deathrattle to fire 4 missiles at random enemies that deal 2 damage each. An 8 attack minion plus an 8 damage Deathrattle upside is pretty nice for 7 mana, but at 5 health I'm not sure that it's going to be worth the cost. And all of the current meta Hunter decks have a really aggressive curve, and this is far too expensive for any of those. Even Highlander Hunter has a really aggressive build at the moment. So Darkmoon Tonk has amazing synergy with 9 lives, but the Deathrattle damage isn't guaranteed to go face, so it might not always go the way you want it to. And while we could use Ursitron to draw it out of the deck reliably, it's still really slow. And even with help from the next card we're going to look at, it's unlikely to make it into the new meta without some serious help. However, Oblivitron and 9 lives are going to love this thing, so we are definitely bringing Mech Hunter back into standard with our meme decks. Now, if Darkmoon Tonk were to get some major support, a card that might see play alongside it would be Maxima Blastenheimer. She's a 6 mana 4/4 Hunter legendary with a battle cry to summon a minion from your deck, which attacks the enemy hero, and then it dies. So this works great with high attack Deathrattle minions, just like Darkmoon Tonk. But of course, this is way too slow for any current meta decks, and all the current meta decks have really small minions, so yeah, let's not smack our opponent in the face with a 1/1. Now in the future meta, with decks with impressive Deathrattles like Darkmoon Tonk, Plagued Proto-Drake, and Scrapyard Colossus, she could see play. But just using spells and weapons early is probably too weak to survive the meta, and she's not worth it if you're not getting exciting value from big minions hitting or getting excellent Deathrattles. But you know, we're going to build some fun big minion Deathrattle Hunter decks to use Maxima Blastenheimer to her max effect. While the first 2 cards seem to support a big minion archetype of Hunter, this next card supports a different direction that Hunters used to be known for, Beast Hunter. Don't Feed the Animals is a 2 mana spell to give all beasts in your hand +1/+1, and it can be corrupted with any card that costs 3 or more to give them +2/+2 instead. Hand buff cards don't have a very successful history in Hearthstone, and none of the current meta decks use very many beasts, and the ones that have a few beasts don't tend to keep them in hand for very long, so they wouldn't get value from this, meaning this is certainly not a meta now card. This could help strengthen mid-range Beast Hunter enough to give it a fighting chance, but without some powerful new beasts, it just won't get there. This can buff Hyena Alpha, which has some synergy with the next card we're going to look at, but beasts need a lot more help to survive in the new meta. This isn't a very efficient buff for Augmented Porcupine, but it will buff all the copies in hand, even after we discount it with Scarlet Webweaver and duplicate them with Romkin Wild Tamer and Hunting Party. So there's potential for this in a meme deck. So even if we don't decide to buff Phase Stalkers and Hyena Alphas with the last card, we may want to run this next spell. Petting Zoo is a 3 mana spell to summon a 3/3 Strider, and then repeat for each secret you control. So at a base level, it's a 3 mana 3/3, which isn't very exciting, but if you've got a single secret out there, it's gonna get you 6/6 in stats for just 3 mana. While it would be one of their more expensive cards, Face Hunter could use it, perhaps in place of an animal companion or 2, and Dragon Hunters that use the secret passage would also consider it, so I think it would see play at the moment. And although Subject 9 is hanging out in Wild, with a card like this in the new meta, it wouldn't be surprising if Secret Hunter returns to terrorize the meta once again. So I honestly think Secret Hunter will be a meta deck, but we can go all in on this with meme decks using unusual secrets and build a full secret tree to pair with Petting Zoo, Knife Juggler, and maybe even Pinflinger? We'll see. So Hunters aren't the only ones getting new secret synergy cards. Mages are getting Ring Toss, a 4-mana spell to discover a secret and cast it. But if you've corrupted it, playing a 5-mana or more card, you discover 2 instead. 4 mana to discover and cast a secret feels terrible, however the corrupted version is amazing. So this being at 4 mana reminds me a lot of Arcane Keysmith, which pretty much did the same thing with a 2/2 body, except it didn't have the corrupt upside. That card saw a lot of play because it was flexible enough that you could discover the type of secret you needed in that particular matchup. It'll feel kinda bad to play this just to discover a single secret for 4 mana, but if you can get this corrupted, it's gonna feel great to have 2 discovered secrets that you can use in this particular matchup. So No Minion Mage has actually climbed up into tier 3 recently, and this would be a decent candidate for value in that deck, but unless they generate high cost minions from Font of Power or play just one of the few high cost cards, they won't get corrupted value from this. However, some versions of Highlander Hunter run Ice Barrier at the moment, but they can activate the corrupt pretty easily, so it may be worth swapping out. It's a questionable meta now. So we haven't seen any of the other mage class cards, but Yogg-Saron will certainly be joining some mage decks. It's hard to guess where the class will go, but there will probably be a Highlander deck or another deck that would be happy to get corrupted value from this. And we'll be sure to use this with Ethereal Arcanist and Cloud Prince to surprise our opponents with our meme decks. While there are a bunch of corrupt cards coming with the set, something from the Naaru should not be corruptible. Paladins get Hammer of the Naaru to help them own the board even more effectively. This 6-mana weapon is only a 3/3, but it comes with a battle cry to summon a 6/6 Holy Elemental with Taunt. At 6 mana, it may be a bit awkward to include in Pure and Murloc Paladin, but Broom Paladin does have ways to get some extra immediate value from this. However, it's a bit too clunky at 6 mana to be included in Broom Paladin either. Other than Day at the Fair, we haven't seen much from Paladin yet, so there may be more support coming. But the fact that this summons an elemental with Taunt is relevant with N'Zoth, God of the Deep, as this will allow Paladins to get a sizable, guaranteed Taunt in the pool for N'Zoth as they build up to 10 mana to play him. There's definitely decent potential in the upcoming meta. While there's not a busted way to use the weapon or battlecry from this in Standard, a card like this is a nice stall and value generator for Dual Paladin a turn before commencement without messing with the minion pool. Also, N'Zoth Paladin isn't necessarily going to be summoning minions from every type, but non-meta versions will be happy to try. Now, something that could possibly slow down Paladins from doing high-cost plays is the new Warlock card, Revenant Rascal. He's a 3-mana 3/3 with a battle cry to destroy a mana crystal for both players. Although he looks like one, he doesn't have a demon tag, so there aren't synergies there. However, he'll be decent in Zoo decks to slow down board clears or high-pressure plays early on. But Rascal is almost useless once players reach 10 mana. The only Warlock deck in the top 3 tiers at the moment is Galakron Warlock, and this doesn't really help that deck. Zoo Warlock might run this as a way to buy an extra turn before board clears, but Zoo is just barely tier 4, putting it just outside our criteria for meta now. Now, this effect reminds me a lot of Cult Neophyte, which I bet against as a meta card for Scholomance Academy, but ended up being fairly effective. This does hurt your own mana as well, but an aggressive Zoo deck can probably get decent value from it. I'm hesitant to call him meta later, but I think he can help a Zoo deck climb back into the meta. As for meme decks, Warlocks don't have a way to duplicate battle cries, and this doesn't have any tribal synergies. The only way I can see getting ridiculous value from this is in a major disruption deck together with Chaos Gazer in an effort to eliminate cards from the opponent's hand. Philosophy could give us extra copies of Chaos Gazer, and Raise Dead would be a way to get extra copies of this. It's not a kind form of meme deck, but it is something unusual to try out. So we'll say Revenant Rascal is meme deck worthy? Now that we've seen how Warlocks will be able to disrupt mana, we're going to take a look at a card for Rogues where we'll want as much mana as possible to really take advantage of it. Prize Plunderer is a 1 mana 2/1 pirate with a combo effect to deal 1 damage to a minion for each other card you've played this turn. With all the lackey generators and cheap spells Rogue has access to, it won't be difficult to deal 3 to 5 damage with this pirate fairly consistently. Prize Plunderer will be most effective in a deck where a bunch of cards can be played with him, so decks that run Edwin Van Cleef and Questing Adventurer would probably be the most likely to include him. So Secret, Galakrond, and Highlander Rogue are all possible fits. There are popular cards in each of these decks that Prize Plunderer could replace as a tech card, though I'm not sure if dealing 3 to 5 damage to a minion would be worth running the card. I'm going to give it a borderline no for current meta decks. If we get a little bit more pirate synergy available to rogues with the set, I could see Prize Plunderer joining a meta deck or two. But otherwise, I'm not sure if decks will be willing to sacrifice a slot to this guy. It's nice, but Brain Freeze and Sap deal with minions quite well in similar ways, with an upside this guy doesn't have. Yes, we'll get a 2/1 body with some damage, but the requirement to pair several cards with him to get any extra value makes him just a little too awkward for me to say he'll join the new meta either. But if we get any pirate synergy, this verdict will flip. However, World Kickmaster is excited to have another combo card to generate even more value in a wacky combo meme deck. And finally, we'll look at the cards from the other class that really likes to smack things with their face, Demon Hunters. We'll start off with the most balanced card announced for the class, Renowned Performer. She's a 4 mana 3/3 with Rush and a Deathrattle to summon 2 1/1 assistants with Taunt. It's kind of surprising that the Performer's assistant appears to be intact, considering this summons 2 1/1s with that artwork. So this is not aggressive enough for Soul or Aggro Demon Hunter, and while it does generate tokens after rushing, the 1/1s are too passive for the deck to use well with their token benefit cards. It's probably not a good fit in any current meta decks. Now this card is well balanced with pretty good value, but well balanced is far too weak for Demon Hunter decks, so this is unlikely to make the cut in future meta decks either. So Renowned Performer doesn't really open the door for any new or unusual Demon Hunter decks, as there's no Deathrattle or Rush synergy in the class, and taunts on the backside don't really enable anything unusual either. So this is not a meme deck worthy card. So you know how Hunters have Swarm of Locusts to summon 7 1/1 Rush minions at once for 6 mana? Well, Demon Hunters get to do the same thing for 1 mana more, but there's a huge upside for rushing them in right away. Expendable Performers is a 7 mana spell to summon 7 1/1 Illidari with Rush, and if they all die this turn, summon 7 more. That is a ton of value packed into a single card. Now, the only deck that would consider running this at the moment is Token Demon Hunter. It's a bit on the expensive side for the deck, but it's possible to get 12 procs from Wrathscale Naga if you play Wrathscale Naga after killing off the first Illidari, and there are still targets on the board after 6 procs with the Naga, with space for 6 more Illidari to show up. Or you could draw a full hand of cards with Feast of Souls using this, so I think Token Demon Hunters might consider running a copy or two of this. The cards we've seen thus far from the Darkmoon Faire don't seem to give this any other ways to be used, but the value with Wrathscale Naga and Feast of Souls will likely be sufficient to earn these performers a spot in a new meta deck. So if we draw at least 4 cards other than with natural draws by turn 9, with Expendable Performers, Feast of Souls, and Chef Nomi in hand, we can have an easy turn 10 Chef Nomi. Toss in Naaru and Archivist Deliciana for good measure, and we've got a pretty strong meme deck. At last, we look at the card that may just dethrone Altruis or Kane as the most broken card printed for Demon Hunters, Il'gynoth. He's a 4-mana 2/6 with lifesteal, and your lifesteal damages the enemy hero instead of healing you. Now, why is this so broken? If you faced a Demon Hunter with Eldrachi Warblades equipped that healed 13 to 16 health with a single hit with their face, you'll understand why Il'gynoth is terrifying. So would the Soul Demon Hunter deck that currently does ridiculous amounts of lifesteal damage use this? Yeah, it's meta now. And without some massive nerfs to lifesteal cards for Demon Hunter, this will definitely see play in the new meta as well. And with a little help from Wandmaker and Cobalt Spellkin to get us extra copies of Twin Slices, and with Escape Mana Saber plus Eldrachi Warblades in the setup turn, it's possible to set up an OTK with this. I-Beams in an outcast position might work too, but it's a little bit more challenging to set up. But there are tons of different combos available, so this is a meme deck worthy card as well. And to finish off today's review, we look at the second neutral corrupt card announced for the set, Horrendous Growth. This 2-mana 2/2 doesn't look all that imposing, but after you corrupt it, it becomes a 3/3. But that's not the end. No, this can be corrupted endlessly. So this will stay at 2 mana, and as you continue to play cards of 3 or more mana, this will just continue to grow bigger and bigger in hand. It'll be fun to drop a few 2-mana 10/10s or 12/12s near the end of the game. So I'm guessing Yasharj the Defiler will give us the actual version of this we play back for 0 mana, rather than a 3/3, but that will be something to test out early on. The moment this becomes a 2-mana 3/3, it's good value for the cost, so it shouldn't be too difficult to slot into a meta deck. There are a lot of decks with really low curves that would be hesitant to play this, but several of the Highlander decks and control decks could get excellent value from this. And in the upcoming meta, I wouldn't be surprised to see a version of Paladin running this alongside Argent Braggart, or in a Survival of the Fittest Druid deck. There will probably be a number of ways to get even more value out of Horrendous Growth than it appears at first. So just how big can we make this thing? If we were to hold this in hand while we play through our Infinite Sathravar Quest Warlock deck, there should be a card to it up there. We can turn this into a gargantuan growth. Let's see just how big we can make this guy. And now for the quick reviews. Even though it's just a toy, Darkmoon Tonk is too big for the current meta, and needs some serious add-ons to see play in the future meta. But Tonks and Oblivitron have 9 lives in meme decks. Maxima Blastenheimer took too long to set up her cannon for current decks, and it looks as though max value is just too expensive for the future meta. But she'll certainly blast her way into a few massive minion Deathrattle meme decks. No one needs to tell current meta decks don't feed the animals, and mid-range beasts are just too starved to put together a future meta deck. But Augmented Porcupine is happy to join a hunting party after seeing Scarlet Webweaver fed. Most current hunters would be happy to set up a petting zoo, and secret hunters are looking forward to restocking the secret tree, as Knife Juggler sets up some rarely seen traps to catch memes for the zoo. Highlander mages seem willing to corrupt themselves with Ring Toss in the current and future metas, and the Cloud Prince wants to hug this cute little turtle in either form. Current paladins aren't looking for the Hammer of the Naaru, but this may be an elemental part of a N'Zoth paladin, and hammers are great weapons for duels. Revenant Rascal is too mischievous for Galakrond, but he might help zoo decks destroy some opponents in the future meta, and Chaos Gazer is looking forward to raising some dead memes with him. While Edwin Van Cleef decks have the tools he needs for plundering, current and future meta decks are just barely missing the pirate prizes necessary to lure prize Plunderer out. However, Whirl Kickmaster knows a way to combo him with memes. Renowned Performer is far too balanced to perform in any current or future meta decks, and she's missing the flair of renowned meme deck cards. Wrathscale Naga loves watching Expendable Performers in meta decks, and Chef Nomi approves of Feast of Souls opening the door for him to flood the board on turn 10. Il'gynoth would never see play in Soul Demon Hunter or any other meta decks that use lifesteal. no player could possibly sink to the depths of playing what may well be the most broken card ever printed. Yeah. There are easy OTKs to try out with this too, so, you know, if that's your thing. Horrendous Growth would corrupt some current Highlander and Control decks, while helping Argent Braggart or Survival of the Fittest decks grow into the new meta. And in infinite decks like our Infinite Sathravar Quest Warlock, this will turn into a horrendously huge growth. And that's a wrap. We'll continue to review cards from the madness of the Darkmoon Faire. So the old gods know you want to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. That keeps happening at the end of these reviews. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Remember, you're awesome. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day.